Lawrence Butler, a rare sixth-round pick who rose to the top. That story and more on the Hot Corner, including a segment I'll feature once in a while called Did You Know? A look back on things I've seen or done over the years in and around baseball. I'm your host, Steve Harmon, coming to you straight out of scorching Sacramento, where history is being made. The major leagues are coming to town and will be here for at least the next 3 years. In my last episode, I explored the careers of Giants pitchers Logan Webb and Justin Verlander. Today, I take a tour through the short and promising career of Lawrence Butler, the young A's outfielder who burst onto the scene with a phenomenal rookie season last year. Recently, reports have emerged that Butler may be one of several players the A's organization is considering for contract extensions. The buzz grew after manager Steve Kotze's contract was extended by 3 years, and then when the A's locked up all-star Brent Rooker for 5 more years with his own extension. The idea is to help create an identity that can carry the A's through their years in Sacramento as they prepare to land in Las Vegas. Butler is seen as one of the players the A's might like to build around. Butler, Rooker, J.J. Bleday, and starting pitcher J.P. Sears were the 4 A's who generated some buzz with a PR tour through Sacramento recently, spotlighted at a Sacramento Kings game. Butler even joked that the A's might want to get their own Light the Beam thing going at the Sutter Health Park. I don't know how many in the A's organization had him penciled in as a marquee player when Butler was hitting 177 and striking out 90 times in 192 at-bats as an 18-year-old kid in low A ball in 2019. That's a 47% strikeout rate to all you analytics types out there. That was a full year after being drafted in the 6th round of the 2018 draft, the 173rd player taken in that draft. Butler's path is truly remarkable, and I want to go down a rabbit hole to explore it. First, to have actually touched Major League soil after being drafted so low is a minor miracle in itself. Of those 172 players picked ahead of Butler, 103 have never made it to the Major Leagues. That's 60% of that 2018 draft class that haven't made it and probably won't. Another 24 have played in fewer than 100 games, and only 45, that's 26% of the players chosen in those first 6 rounds, have made it and stuck around for more than 100 games. Even later in the draft, in the 9th round, the Tigers struck gold. That's when future American League Cy Young Award winner Tariq Skubal was taken. Other players taken after Butler include the Boston Red Sox outfielder Jared Duran, Minnesota Twins pitcher Joe Ryan, and St. Louis Cardinals Brendan Donovan, all taken in the 7th round. But no others of real note later in that 2018 draft, other than Butler's teammates Max Schumann and C.J. Alexander, both taken in the 20th round and both fighting for a spot on the big league roster this spring. The history of baseball drafts has many stories of future stars being overlooked. Remember, future Hall of Famer Wade Boggs was not taken by the Boston Red Sox until the 7th round of the 1976 draft. Hall of Famer Andre Dawson was not taken until the 11th round of the 1975 draft. Hall of Famer Dave Parker was left undrafted until the 14th round of the 1970 draft. Future Giants star second baseman Jeff Kent, who should be in the Hall of Fame, wasn't taken until the 20th round of the 1989 draft. Jack Clark, the great Giants right fielder, was overlooked until the 13th round of the 1973 draft because they thought of him as a mid-level pitcher. Hall of Famer Jim Thome also lasted until the 13th round of the 1991 draft. Now, do you remember a pitcher by the name of Matt Bush? I didn't think so. The San Diego Padres took him ahead of Justin Verlander in the 2004 draft in an all-time draft blunder. I'm sure you remember Steve Chilcott. No. He was the guy the Mets picked before the A's leaped out of their shoes to pick Reggie Jackson in the 1966 draft. A year earlier, the Mets got Nolan Ryan in the 12th round. A great find, though they blew that lucky break by trading him away 7 years later for fading shortstop Jim Fregosi. And of course, the ultimate miss, Mike Piazza, not taken until the 62nd round of the 1988 draft, and that was as a favor to his godfather, Tommy Lasorda. The list goes on and on and on. So often in baseball, the talent in baseball is misjudged. Number 1 draft pick flameouts are not uncommon. It is an inexact science. So when a player like Lawrence Butler emerges seemingly out of nowhere, of course the scouts and coaches will say they knew that he had it in him, that they saw him starring in the majors when no one else did. And you have to give the A's credit. They stuck with him despite long stints of struggles in the game. Credit especially goes to management for giving him a second look last year after sending him down to AAA Las Vegas for starting out slowly. I'll get back to that in a moment. In doing research for this episode, the thing that struck me over and over again was the sheer number of short-lived careers and broken dreams. For every player who made it to the big leagues, there were 3, maybe 4 from that 2018 draft who flamed out after 2, 3, maybe 4 years in the minor leagues. Injury, bad breaks, or unfulfilled promise was the predominant thread. There was Connor Scott, the 13th overall pick in the 2018 draft by the Marlins. At 6'3", 200 pounds with speed and athleticism, he signed out of high school for a $4 million bonus. But that promise has never been realized. In 6 seasons in the minor leagues, he has a lifetime batting average of .240 with 30 home runs in 1,911 at-bats. He was released twice last year by the Milwaukee Brewers and Pittsburgh Pirates after hitting a combined .213 in Double-A stops in Altoona and Biloxi. The 25-year-old outfielder's story continues, though, signed as a free agent earlier this year by the Kansas City Royals and assigned to the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. Baseball finds it hard sometimes to give up on first-round picks. The story of the breakthrough, Lawrence Butler's story, is less common than you might think. Take the story of Jake Wong, a pitcher who made it to the major leagues for 1 game. Wong signed for an $850,000 bonus as the Giants' third-round pick in 2018. He was in the Giants' system for 3 years before being dealt away to the Cincinnati Reds for the 2023 season. In Double-A and Triple-A that year, Wong had a 6.52 ERA in 68 innings, but his big arm, in his minor league career, he had 300 strikeouts in 308 innings, was still tantalizing enough for the Reds to give him a look. So, on June 26, 2023, Wong made his debut, what may be the entirety of his entire big league career on that day. In front of 13,077 fans at Baltimore's Camden Yards, Wong got the call from the bullpen at the bottom of the 6th inning, the Reds down 7-3. He was in there to save the Reds' bullpen arm, so he would go the final 3 innings. Wong kept the Orioles off the scoreboard in the 6th, getting Ramon Urias to hit into an ending double play. Wong had 2 outs in the 7th inning before Baltimore strung together 3 hits and a walk for 3 runs. And Wong would put up another scoreless inning in the 8th inning when he got Ramon Urias again to ground into another inning-ending double play. And that was that. With his lifetime ERA now packed in ice at 9.00, Wong was returned to AAA Louisville to finish the season, only to be released at the end of 2023. The Cubs picked him up for 2024, but Wong got into a single game at AA Tennessee before getting released on June 12th. Just another 28-year-old ex-pitcher chewed up and spit out by the game of baseball. 2018 was the year the A's wasted their first-round pick on football star Kyler Murray, who chose the NFL as his career path. He's done well in 6 seasons for the Arizona Cardinals. And they didn't do much better in the second round. Do you remember Jamison Hanna? Not likely. He played 6 seasons in the minors, rising only as high A ball with the A's before being traded to Cincinnati in 2019. He's now in the Colorado Rockies organization, hitting .291 in AAA Albuquerque last year in 127 at-bats. In the third round, the A's did pick somebody that they still have, pitcher Hogan Harris. Last year in the majors, Harris showed some of the promise they thought he had when they gave him a $660,000 bonus out of the University of Louisiana. He went 4-4 with a 2.86 ERA in 21 games for the A's last year, including a couple real nice starts in June and July when he threw 6 shutout innings against Toronto and 6 2/3 shutout innings against the Houston Astros. He is in the mix to make the big league staff this year. In the fourth round of that 2018 draft, the A's picked up Alfonso Rivas, a first baseman out of the University of Arizona, signed for $446,000. But after the 2020 season was canceled because of COVID, the A's released him. Since then, he's been in 4 separate organizations, actually playing in parts of 3 seasons in the major leagues with the Cubs, Padres, and Pirates, hitting 7 home runs and .243 average and 404 at-bats. But he was last seen playing Mexican League ball at the end of 2024. 5th round, another forgettable pick, pitcher Brady Feigl, signed for $300,000 out of the University of Mississippi. Out of the game after 2021, compiled a 14-22 record with a 4.30 ERA. The highest level he got to was AAA Las Vegas, but he gave up 19 earned runs in 20 innings, and that was his story. So many stories like that, many more than the Lawrence Butler story. Butler, the A's 6th round pick, signed for $285,000 out of Westlake High School in Atlanta, Georgia. He'd played in showcase travel tournaments put on by the Marquise Grissom Baseball Association, which has done much to elevate black ball players back into the game. One of Butler's close teammates on that travel team was Michael Harris III, the star center fielder for the Atlanta Braves. Butler and Harris are helping put baseball back on the map for black baseball players with their high-profile success. For generations, black participation in baseball has plummeted as they've turned to football and basketball, which have proven to provide more opportunities with college scholarships that just aren't available in baseball. As I mentioned earlier, Butler struggled at the start of his career, hitting only .183 over those first 2 years, going 58 for 298, with 5 home runs and 37 RBI, striking out 133 times. That's a 44.6 strikeout rate, with only a .298 on-base percentage. Turns out the COVID cancellation of the 2020 season may have been a blessing for Butler. He came back in 2021 renewed, probably more mature in his outlook. That's where he emerged with a 19 home run campaign, 75 RBIs, and a .273 batting average and 385 at-bats in Lansing and Stockton. He did strike out 146 times, still a high 38% K rate. But he also had a .367 on-base percentage, showing a developing discipline that baseball organizations prize. His OPS was an eye-opening .871. He continued his growth in 2022 with a full season in Lansing. Lansing is a good place for young ball players to develop, very supportive and casual, though the weather can be chilly for the first couple months of the season, which may explain Butler's low home run total of 11 in Lansing. But again, though the strikeouts were up, he showed good plate discipline with a .351 on-base percentage. Butler then made the jump to AA Midland and then to AAA Las Vegas in 2023, hitting a combined 15 home runs and 70 RBIs, with a .284 350 slash and an .825 on-base plus slugging. He'd earned his first call up to Oakland, joining the A's starting lineup in Washington, D.C. for his debut on August 11th, 2023. He didn't get his first hit until his second game, and his first home run came in the 4th game. He struggled a bit that year, though, hitting only .211 in 123 at-bats, but showed flashes of his power with his first multi-home run game with 2 blasts against the Blue Jays on September 4th, including a 2-run shot in the bottom of the 10th inning in a rally that fell just short, showing signs of his dramatic flair. He ended with 4 home runs on the season. And then last year, Butler made the A's opening day roster, but he stumbled out of the gates and was sent back down to Las Vegas on May 14th. 41 games into the season, he was hitting .179 with just 2 home runs and 7 RBIs, striking out 36 times in 106 at-bats. Was Butler a bust? He didn't think so. He called himself one of the unluckiest players in the game, watching line drive after line drive caught, his good swing going unrewarded. He said the demotion was good for him, though. Cleared his head, allowed him to focus on just playing ball with no big league demands, no worries. In his month-long stint in Las Vegas, Butler didn't exactly tear up the league, hitting only .255 with 4 home runs and 110 at-bats. But he locked back in with the discipline he'd been missing at the big league level, beefing up on his on-base percentage to a healthy .349 after flailing away for a .240 on-base percentage at the big league level. Still, remember, when Butler got back to Oakland a month later, his slump picked right back up. He could only muster 5 hits in his first 28 at-bats since his recall. his average remaining stuck in the 170s. It's a testament to the Oakland organization for sticking with him at that point, because as soon as the calendar flipped to July, all the promise and potential for Butler came into full view. Something clicked, and suddenly Butler belonged. From July 2nd until the end of the season, Butler was one of the marquee players not just of the A's, but of the major leagues. He hit .302 in that span, going 78 for 282, with 20 home runs and 50 RBIs. This was done basically in a half season, so it was a torrid 40 home run and 100 RBI pace for the full season. He struck out only 60 times, that's only a 21.2 strikeout rate, and had an on-base percentage of .349 with a big man slugging percentage of .597. He had 18 doubles and 2 triples to go along with his 20 home runs over those final 3 months. That's a .946 OPS for those who love that stat. Truly elite levels. Of course, it's not all about statistics. It's about the memories. The shocking 3 home run game he had in Philadelphia on July 14th, driving in 6 runs in an 18-3 rout of the Phillies. And then, like deja vu, he did it again against the Reds in Cincinnati on August 29th in what turned out to be a 10-9 loss. He hit 3 more home runs in a game. That capped off a 3-game explosion in which he hit 6 home runs and 8 RBIs. And that came in the midst of a team-high 22-game hitting streak in which he went 34 for 90, a .378 mark. In that span, he also had extra base hits in 9 straight games. That's a franchise record. Nobody else has done it. Not Reggie Jackson, not Sal Bando, nobody. Now, expectations are sky high for the kid from Atlanta. Sacramento A's fans are waiting to greet Lawrence Butler with an embrace that Sacramento fans are well known for, as Kings players will attest. But just a caveat. Baseball is filled with cautionary tales. I went over a few in this podcast. There have been many players who've burst onto the scenes only to fade into obscurity. This game can be cruel. It can tantalize you with hope and break your spirit with disappointment. Right now, Butler has given us great reason for hope. An exciting first season coming up in Sacramento. The fans are hoping. Okay, I want to end today's podcast with my first installation of a segment called Did You Know? Did you know that I met Reggie Jackson 4 different times in 4 different capacities? I met him as a 14-year-old fan. I met him as a 17-year-old kid working the concession stands at a movie theater. Met him as a high school player. And I met him as a reporter. The first time was in 1975 when Reggie Jackson had hit a home run on the final game of the season to capture a tie in the home run crown. And all of the fans surrounded him after the game. And I do remember everybody was making a fuss over him and yelling and pushing and elbowing one another. And Reggie Jackson stopped us all, told us all to shut up until we stopped making all the noise. He would not sign another autograph. We all went silent, and then he resumed giving out his signature. The next time I met him was a few years later. I was a high school ball player. This was at the movie theater. That's right. I was working at Berkeley Theater on Shattuck and Haste in Berkeley as a concession worker. And there he came in dressed incognito in a fisherman's hat and cut-off sweatshirt with a date. And came in to the line asking for popcorn and soda. I served him and I said, "Here you go, Mr. Jackson." He looked up at me and said, "Thanks for being quiet about this." And then he asked me if there's any way I could get him up to the balcony, which was actually closed to the general public. And I did that for him, and he was very grateful. At the end of the night, he came up to me and thanked me for keeping it discreet and allowing him to enjoy the movie from the balcony. The movie that day was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Do you remember that one? The next time I saw him, I was a ball player, high school ball player, taking batting practice at the batting cages by the Oakland Coliseum. This was sometime during spring training when Reggie Jackson was holding out, I guess. I don't know if it was for contract negotiations or what, but he had refused to report to spring training for the Yankees. But there he was, came right up to the batting cages where we were hitting. He actually came up to me and asked me which one was the best machine to hit against. I pointed to the one that I was using. And he stepped into the cage. We all stopped what we were doing and watched Reggie take stroke after stroke of magnificent shots into the nets. The one funny part of the story was that at one point, one of the employees at the batting cages came up and told Reggie that he needed to get a batting helmet or would have to leave. Reggie looked at him and says, "Do you know who you're talking to?" And the kid said, "Yes, Mr. Jackson." And Reggie refused to wear the batting helmet and just stormed off. And we were all giving piercing glares at the kid who forced Reggie Jackson out of the cages. The last time I met him was in 1987 at the Oakland Coliseum. That was his last year in the major leagues, and he had returned to the A's. Coincidentally, that night, the Yankees were in town. I was a small-town reporter who covered occasional games, and there I was. I saw Reggie during batting practice leaning against a back wall by the players' tunnel with a scrum of beat writers. So I sidled up, but I couldn't get anything out of the conversation. He was whispering little nuggets to the old beat writers out of New York. And I wasn't going to break that up by reminding him of that time I let him watch the invasion of the body snatchers up in the balcony, was I? All right, that's about all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you tune in next time. This is the Baseball Podcast straight out of Sacramento. And I have one last piece of advice. Lay off the slider low and away. See you next time.